This week's Haftara from the Novi Zcharia is a Haftara that's repeated twice. It's for Parshas beha'aloscha, and it'll also be the Haftara for Shabbos Chanukah, because it deals with the menorah. And therefore, that's the connection to this week's Parsha beha'aloscha, and the connection to Chanukah naturally through the menorah. It's an important Haftara because it gives us a picture of the state of the Jewish people at the beginning of Bayis Sheni. And we have to realize that when Ezra came back with the Jewish people, he came back with a very small percentage of the Jewish people. The Tanakh tells us about 42,000 Jews, and there must have been a population of millions. So most of the Jews didn't come back. And not only that, the quality of those who came back was much less than the quality of those who remained in Bavel and in Mitzrayim. The Gemara in Kedushin, in the fourth parak, tells us Asara Yuchsin Olam Bavel. When Ezra came back, he came back with 10 different types of Jews. Not all of them were Jews that, so to speak, were completely legitimate. Where it says Mamzerim, Shtuki, Sufi, Asufi, all kinds. And the Gemara says the opposite regarding Bavel. Lo ola Ezra mi Bavel, ad she'asa es Bavel kesoles nekiya. That Ezra didn't come back to Eretz Israel without leaving Bavel, without any questionable lineages, without any of these problems. So that's why we see that throughout the Second Temple times, and certainly later, Bavel saw itself as the primary Jewish community, over and above Eretz Israel, because of the fact that they had this assurance that they were kesoles nekiya. They were pure flour. We see this in the Haftara. Vayareni as Yoshua Kohen Gadol. There's a man, the Malach. Zcharia always operates through a Malach. There's a Malach Hadover being. A Malach speaks to him, and he responds to the Malach. Every prophet had his own way of achieving prophecy. Zchariah's prophecy is always through angels, through malachim. So therefore, he's the malach hadover bi, vayareni es Yoshua Kohen Gadol, and he showed me Yoshua the Kohen Gadol, who was destined to be the Kohen Gadol at the beginning of the reign of Ezra. And the Pasuk says that he was wearing dirty clothes, begodim tzoim. His garments were soiled. So the Gemara says, what does that mean that his garments were soiled? So the Gemara says that he had sons who in Bavel had intermarried with non-Jewish women. And that was the Tanakh didn't express it openly, but that was the dirty clothes that he was wearing. So in other words, they were going to have a Kohen Gadol who was going to have non-Jewish grandchildren. And then it says that a character appears. He sees there's a sultan there. Vasotan omed limino lesitno. And the Sotan stands on the right hand of Yoshua, lesitno, to be his Sotan, meaning he's the accusatory prosecutor that points out what's wrong. So what's wrong here is obvious, that we should get a different Kohen Gadol. He can't be the Kohen Gadol because of the fact that the sons intermarried. And we see that in the Pasuk itself, that the Kohen Gadol is very hesitant. He bears the burden of the tragedy that he has suffered, and he's very reticent to become the Kohen Gadol. And nevertheless, the Navi and the Malach, and Kaviyachal, and the Rabbanu Shalom insist that he become the Kohen Gadol. Take off the Begodim Atzoim, take off his soiled dark garments, and dress him in the vestments of the Kohen Gadol, clean and new and beautiful. Meaning you should discard what happened to him. It has nothing to do with his purposes now. And then also we have the famous pasuk that the Rabbanu Shalom says, Yigar b'cho Hashem asoton, v'yigar b'cho abocher b'Yerushalayim. The Lord doesn't want to hear from the Sotan. I don't want to hear from him. Yigar is like to rebuke him, because I'm interested, abocher b'Yerushalayim. I'm interested now in Yerushalayim and rebuilding the Jewish people. So I don't want to hear the problems that Yoshua has. And then he says, Alo ze ud mutzol me'esh. You have to realize that he, meaning the rest of the Jewish people, all of the Jewish people, are an ud mutzol me'esh, a piece of twig, a piece of fire, a piece of wood rather, that has been saved from the fire. It's charred, it's not perfect, but it's ud mutzol me'esh. So the Rabbanu Shalom Kaviyachal is much more charitable in this matter than human beings would have been. And the Rabbanu Shalom doesn't want to hear the Sotan. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the Sotan. And he says the main excuse, so to speak, that he explains is because he was an Ud Mutzal Me'esh. He went through the fire, and this is what's left, and so we're going to go ahead with what's left. Now, in the beginning of the Bayis Sheni, so the Jews encountered all sorts of great problems, internal and external. The Shomronim were here in Yerushalayim, and the Shomronim protested that the Jews came back, because for decades they had inhabited already the city.